What's up guys, Captain Blade J52 here, and it's been a little while since I was last able to get some content out there for you guys. At the time of filming this and prior to upload, it's been about 40 days, actually a little over 40 days at this point, and everything. I've had some stuff that I've needed to take care of outside of the game and whatnot, and also this is a usually somewhat busy time of the year for me, or at least very eventful. But anyways, nothing bad, mind you, that I've had to take care of. Actually, some pretty good stuff, and if it pays off the way I'm hoping that it will, then should be some pretty good stuff in the future for me. Now, I do apologize for being absent for as long as I have been for you guys and whatnot, but I'm able to get a little bit of content out there for you guys, so I'm going to do that and everything. But since I've been away, there's actually been some interesting developments in the world of Star Trek Online. Just recently, we had a promotion that I wasn't expecting, which was the Phoenix Prize Pack promotion that they did. Now, what was so special about the Phoenix Prize Pack is it was a specialty box, or specialty lock box, as some people like to refer to, that contains all of the old event rewards that have been retired, or a pretty good number of them actually, such as the Kobali Samsar that you see here, the Sarthoun Carrier, which was one of the first true Tier 6 carriers that we had in game. Then we had the Voth Bulwark, which was in there. That ship in and of itself has been absent from, or had been absent from the game for many, many years. And you also had the old Tier 5 Jem'Hadar attack ship, which had been retired and whatnot. Those ships in and of themselves, if you could even find somebody that had them, would go, in some cases that I saw, in excess of 2 billion or more in terms of energy credits. Then you also have the red matter capacitor, which a lot of people wanted. Then you had the Zephyr Cochrane shotgun, a lot of people like. So quite a bit of interesting stuff in the box and everything. Rest assured, folks, that it will be coming around again. I can pretty much safely guarantee that. It was way too successful, it made them way too much money, and way too many people were investing into it. Now, the downside to the box was that if, for example, you claimed the Kobali Samsar and whatnot, then it was just for that one specific character that could use it. It pretty much treated it as a lockbox ship at that point. So the downside to it was, unless you were there for the event and unlocked it through the event itself, you didn't get a free account reclaim. So that is the downside to the Phoenix box. You'll need a duplicate token if you wanted to have it on an additional character. So like I say, that's the only downside to the box that I saw as far as the loot and everything goes. But anyway, moving right along. Now, what made the Samsar so special and why a lot of people wanted it was one of the first command ships that we actually had access to in game. So a lot of people wanted to complete the anniversary event at the time for it, purely because of that. Is one reason why some people wanted it. Then also, the other good thing about the Samsar is it comes with the Kobali Warp Core and the Regenerative Integrity Field Console, which lets you complete the 4 sets for the Kobali set and the Command Cruiser console package. So definitely some interesting stuff as far as the set bonuses. Without the Samsar, you can't complete those set bonuses. But anyway, we'll take a quick pan around of the ship so people can see the design and whatnot. See kind of how it's set up that way. And then we've got a shot from above the ship, and then a shot from below so you guys can see how it's set up that way. Now, the ship itself, in my personal opinion, it's been one of the more interesting ships that I've flown, but its real strength, like I said, is in the console and the warp core. And let's go ahead and get started with our equipment and everything. But as far as our equipment goes and whatnot, I decided to go with a Polaron build yet again for this, just because I felt it fits the ship and everything. Now, one thing I will make note of, some people can see the Dominion Polarons I'm using and whatnot really quickly. Some of them are upgraded, some of them are not. This is actually the second time I've had to record this first part of the video. Now, originally, I thought the first part of the recording was good, but for whatever reason, it's just the program didn't work right and it spat out a bad recording, so I've pretty much had to redo this. And in the downtime, before realizing that, I upgraded a couple of the Dominion beams and whatnot, because, why not? And that's why some of them are at 14 very rares versus the standard Mark 11 blues. So I just wanted to point that out there and whatnot. And also, I didn't feel like running the mission again several times, so I just decided to slap them on the build. Be a nice little preview for you guys as to some of what it can turn into. But anyway, as far as our weapons go, first up we have the chronometric Polaron beam array. Then we have the chronometric Polaron omni beam. And then to complete that 3-set bonus, we have the chronometric capacitor. Now, what makes the chronometric set so good is actually the set bonuses that it gives. We'll go ahead and take a look at that really quickly. And also, the proc on the weapons is another thing that makes it so good, but we'll take a look at the proc in just a second. Now, as far as the set bonuses go, the actual fourth piece of the puzzle for the set bonuses comes from the Chronom Science ship and is the Chronoton torpedo and everything. So, like I say, the Chronoton torp, you get that from the Chronom Science ship. So that one was one of the other anniversary ships. Unless you have the Chronom Science vessel, you can't complete this 4-set, but because it is there, I felt it's worthy of a mention and a note. Now, the 2-set bonus, in my personal opinion, is kind of underwhelming, not too terribly impressive. It's something nice to have, but in my personal opinion, there's better out there. Now, the real strength of this set, in my personal opinion, comes from the 3-set bonus. It's on a 2-minute recharge, and for 15 seconds, you get 31% bonus exotic damage and 17.7% bonus energy weapon damage. So, pretty good proc there that you can use. Pretty good thing. And if you're somebody that's using a science build, maybe you'll find this of use for the exotic damage boost. But regardless, it's very, very nice to have, and something I would recommend people look into if they're going to run Polarons. But as far as what makes the chronometric beams so good is you have a chance to proc 15% shield penetration to your weapons. So that's a very, very great thing to have there. Then we have our Dominion Polaron beams. We have 6 of those. They come from the new Link mission, so you get to get up close and personal and kick the crap out of a changeling, which is really fun. Now, the other thing that's so special about the Dominion beams is the fact that they're actually hybrid beams. And these beams carry the Polaron proc, which is the standard power drain. Then we also have the Tetrion shield drain as something this weapon has access to. Now, hybrid beams, they deal one type of weapon damage. In this case, it deals Polaron damage, and it has access to the Polaron proc, but it also carries the Tetrion proc with it as well. So that's a very big thing there. But anyways, for people that are curious as to what these can turn into, they start out with once you plop them into the upgrade window, they start out with a critical hit modifier and a DMG modifier, and then they can upgrade to pretty much whatever from there. This one got a second critical hit, this one went ACC, this one went crit D, so like I say, some different stuff you can get there. But anyway, moving along into our shields, our engines, and that sort of thing. For our shields, we have the full Kobali set. We're utilizing all 4 pieces for the shields. What makes them really good is they give a 10% boost to incoming hull healing to self, so that's a very nice thing to have there. For our engines, they give us a 3 to upwards of 10.5% recharge time reduction on hull and shield healing bridge officer abilities, so that's something we have there that's really nice to have. Then we also have our Kobali deflector. Now, the deflector itself is something that, in my personal opinion, is not too terribly impressive as far as the stats goes. I mean, it's nice, yes, and it's part of the set, but it's pretty much, in my personal opinion, just your standard ordinary deflector. But anyways, the real strength of this set comes from the 4-piece healing that it gives you and also the warp core that it has. So for this particular piece of equipment, everything you can see, hopefully the stats for the warp core and the tooltip there, a little bit of shield power that it grants, and also a bonus to your auxiliary power, which is nice to have. Cooldown reduction on slipstream is pretty good, but the big strength of it is, as we can see here, the Kobali shield capacitor. Now it's on I believe it's a 2-minute recharge time. It grants 6,729.1 shield regeneration to nearby allies, and then 15 shield power to yourself and all allies for 20 seconds. So very good thing to have there. If you can cram your full team into that 5-kilometer sphere, you crack this off, you're going to heal yourself and up to 24 other people. So that's a very potent and powerful ability to have off of just the one warp core. So that's a great thing that you have there. Then the other big thing is the actual set bonuses for the Kobali set. The 2 set bonus, again, in my personal opinion, not too terribly impressive, but is definitely something nice to have. The 3 set bonus, this is when you start getting into the good stuff. When receiving damage while at 25% or less hull, you apply the Kobali nanite screen, which is 15,000 temporary hit points for 15 seconds, and that can occur once every 120 seconds or once every 2 minutes. So a very great thing to have there for the nanite screen. But the real power of this set, like I was saying, comes from the 4-piece bonus. It's a 5-kilometer sphere, affects you and up to 19 other people. It's a 2-minute recharge. When receiving energy damage, nearby allies receive hull healing equal to 20% of the incoming damage for 15 seconds. Now, I have seen instances where the Kobali nanite screen has procced on me while I've been at really low health. Then I've hit this ability and gone from nearly dead at 5% all the way back to full. So it's a very, very potent and powerful ability, and in my opinion, one of the strongest, if not the strongest heals in the game when it comes from just your set bonuses. But let's go ahead and take a quick look at the regenerative integrity field console that it also comes with. You have the console that grants 26.6% hull healing, so it increases your hull healing straight out of the gate by a pretty good percentage. Then you have the integrity field that it gives you. It's 18,257.8 hit points. The hull increases in effectiveness as your HP gets lower, so it's going to be a pretty powerful heal regardless. Then you receive 100% of your directed energy damage as healing for 20 seconds. That can trigger up to 10 times per second, healing a maximum of 2,568.5 hit points and a minimum of 320.8, and it's on a 2-minute recharge. So very, very potent and powerful healing abilities. All of these heals are there before you ever even touch your bridge officer abilities. And in my opinion, when you combo all of this together, makes the Kobali set the most powerful tank set in the game, only rivaled in power by the new temporal reputation set. But even then, in my personal opinion, it just can't compete with the healing of the Kobali set. But anyways, like I say, that's just my personal opinion on that. But let's continue on and look at our other stuff and get rolling. Now, for our other consoles, we have the Trillium deplating that comes from the Ragnarok mission. Then we have the Bioneural Gel Pack, which gives us a cooldown reduction to bridge officer abilities that's nice. We have our Plasmonic Leech, which is one of our money items and things we purchased off the exchange. Then we have a Conductive RCS Accelerator that we purchased off the exchange for really cheap. These are the crafted RCS consoles that boost turn rate and also give some abilities as far as your shields go. Everything. So very good consoles to have and whatnot. Then for our science consoles, we have the Dranex x2 exotic particle focusers from the Crenum Science Lab. We have those for the Dranex boost that they give, and also the exotic particle synergy is pretty nice. Hopefully you guys can see the tooltip there and whatnot. Now, As far as tanking goes, you have the focusers that you can use as the option, or if you wanted to, you could also, if you're not having any issues with threat, or if you're having issues with threat, or you just don't want to use the lab consoles, then you also have the plasma exploding embassy consoles, the plasma generating weapon signature consoles. Those give a threat boost or threat reduction depending on which ones you get, and they also can proc a plasma explosion from your weapons. Either set of consoles will work just fine and whatnot. As far as to which one is best, it really depends on the build, in my personal opinion, and everything. Now, some people will say, oh, the plasma exploders are the best all the time. Again, that's just pretty much their personal opinion and whatnot. Both sets of consoles are great and can be used either or. Then as far as our tactical consoles go, we had the chronometric capacitor, which you can see there. It's part of the chronometric set that comes from the Time and Tide mission. Then we have a couple of Polaron phase modulators. Now, I had some Mark 12 blues laying around. I don't know what happened to them in my inventory, so I have a couple of these that I picked up from crafting and whatnot that I'm going to use for this. But anyway, like I say, that's some of our equipment that we're using and everything. As far as the devices go, they're purely personal preference, but if you're looking for a good device to use, I would recommend considering the energy amplifiers, because it's a 20% boost to all energy damage for 20 seconds, and it only affects your weapons, but even still, pretty nice thing to have. Then if you were somebody that was here for the Delta recruitment event or the temporal event, then you've got some pretty good stuff there, such as the temporal negotiator that you could use, or maybe you've picked up a red matter capacitor recently. That's another good device that you could possibly use, or the subspace field modulator even. So you've got options for devices. But anyway, let's go ahead and take a quick look at our skills. Everything. Well, actually, we'll look at specialization, since that's apparently what popped up first. For our secondary specialization, I'm using strategist due to some of the buffs that it can give. You can see for the logistical support, what it gives while threatening is 30% of incoming bridge officer or captain hull healing is temporary hull for 10 seconds, stacking up to 10 times, or the boost to critical chance that it gives when you are not in threatening stance. That's just an example of some of the good stuff that we have there. Then the diversionary tactics, which essentially functions as an AoE taunt for anything within 10 kilometers and allows you to generate some more threat for 10 seconds. So if you need to pull off of a friend or a fleet mate, or even a teammate in a pinch, this is something that you do have that could possibly do so. For our primary specialization, I'm using pilot, mainly for some of the immunities that it gives, plus the turn rate bonus is pretty nice. We have the rock and roll ability, which is a good one. Then we also have the turn the other cheek ability, which is a shield damage reduction. Then we have the thick of it immunity, which can be procced. And we also have, finally, the Lone Wolf ability, which is 50% defense for 10 seconds, and also a tactical team effect that redistributes your shields. So, pretty good stuff that we have there for our specializations. We'll take a quick look at our space skills at the moment. You can see the Lieutenant Commander skills. Scroll down really quickly. You can see the Commander and the Captain point distributions that I've got there. And then finally we have the Admiral points. Now, I personally am not using one of what is called the ultimate abilities for investing so many points into tactical or science or engineering, like a lot of, some people prefer to do. In my personal opinion, the reason I don't do it is I feel like I'm having to give up too much elsewhere to justify using one of the abilities. Now, if you're somebody that likes to use the ultimate abilities, then by all means go for it. They definitely have their uses and definitely can be good abilities. It's just, in my personal opinion, compared to what we had on Tribble and what originally we could have had compared to what we have now, I feel more often than not these abilities become red herrings, and I just don't feel comfortable giving up as much as I have to in order to pick them up. Now, some people may disagree with me on that, and that's perfectly fine and everything. This is just the skill set that I personally have found success with, and that's why I'm sharing it with you guys. Now, as far as the skills down below here, the unlocks that you can get, in my personal opinion, there's only one that I would really consider mandatory if you're wanting to tank, and that is the threat control unlock that you can get, because it's a free 100% threatening boost while you are not in threatening stance, and even when you're out of threatening stance, it's a threat reduction. So if you're not trying to pull threat, this is a good thing that you can have. But anyway, let's take a look at our traits really quickly, and then we'll move on to our bridge officer powers and hit up our Starbase 24 run. Now, this is where the money got spent, was on our traits. And you can see there we have Ablative Shell, which was around 10 million energy credits. You can see what it does there. It's some hit points that gives you, and 33 all damage resistance rating for 3 seconds. Can occur once every 30 seconds. And everything. So, fairly good little ability you have there, which procs a damage reduction. Then we have the Beam Barrage. You can see in the tooltip what it gives us there, some beam damage. Then we have the Give Your All ability, which is a damage dodge for a few seconds. Now, those two abilities actually come from the R&D crafting system, and specifically the beam schools and engineering schools. Lost my train of thought there for a second, people. Now, some people ask me from time to time, why do I use these? Because they can take a long time to get. The reason that I use them is, one, because they're free, and I assume that most people are going to level 1, maybe 2 schools to 15 as they're leveling their character. So that's the main reason why I do it. They're good free traits to use and whatnot, and everybody will have access to them or has the ability to get them, and they don't cost a thing, so that's why I do it. For the next trait, we have Imposing Presence, which is a whole healing boost a little bit, and free threat generation, which is always nice to have. We have Elusive, which is 10% defense for free just by having this slotted. Then we have the Last Ditch Effort, which is the tactical specific trait, or the career specific trait, I should say. If you're an engineering officer or if you're a science officer, in place of Last Ditch Effort, you would use your career specific ability as well. Then we have the Point Blank Shot. This is a trait that is picked up from the House Peg mission in the Iconian story arc. So, a very nice little trait to have there. Then you have the Beam Training, which is free beam damage. You have Operative, which is free critical chance at severity. And then we have the Fleet Coordinator, which is a damage boost based on how many people are in your team, up to 10%. So, very nice little things that we have there. For our Starship traits and everything, you can see I've unlocked a lot of them over playing. But for our budget build, we're going to use actually the one from the Samsar itself, which is Emergency Response. You can see there, when taking damage, it gives us a cooldown reduction on hull and shield healing abilities. You can see some of the stipulations there that it has. Then we have the Best Defense trait, which grants some hull healing additional based off of our attack patterns. So it allows our attack patterns to proc additional stuff, which is very nice. This is also a free trait that you can pick up from the House Peg mission and is very nice to have. Then we have Improved Pedal to the Metal, which actually comes from our pilot specialization. So very nice to have there. Then I'm not using the 5th traits on any of these reputations because I'm assuming that people have not yet unlocked those reputation spaces. So for our space reputation abilities, we have the Aux Power Offensive. Let you guys read the tooltip there a little bit. Then we have the Advanced Targeting Systems for free severity. We have Precision for free critical hit chance. And then we have Energy Refrequencer, which is a bit of healing based on our outgoing damage. So very, very nice stuff to have there. Then if you do have the 5th spot unlocked, I usually like to use the Enhanced Armor Penetration, or perhaps Advanced Engines if you need it, is a couple of good options. Or you have the, if I can find it out of this list, or the chrono capacitor array, which is free bridge officer ability reduction. Any of those three would work as well. They're very, very great to have. For active reputations, I didn't bother unslotting the fifth one because it's a ground. We have the quantum singularity manipulation, which is a science boost. Then we have our deploy sensor interference platform, which essentially taunts off of us into the platform, which could potentially buy you a little bit of time to get a heal off if you needed. Then we have biomolecular shield generator, which is a little bubble that we can pop up, which gives some shield healing and a reduction to damage to our shields. Then we have anti-time entanglement, which is pretty nice. Hopefully you guys can see that there and whatnot. So very, very good. And you can see the tooltip, the ticks that it can give us based on our consoles. Now, one thing that is really, really cool and a combination that you can do as sort of a miniature nuke as far as science goes from this ship is you can actually throw your chronometric energy converter. Then you can follow it up with your quantum singularity manipulation. Then follow that with a particle flood battery if you're using them. Then throw your anti-time entanglement out there. And you're going to do a lot more damage than you otherwise normally could. Or maybe if you're using a gravity well. Needless to say, it's a miniature science nuke that you do have on this particular build. But anyways, moving right along, we're going to look at our bridge officer powers. Then, through the magic of editing, we're going to get to our Starbase 24 run. As far as our bridge officer seats go, the Samsar itself is kind of limited in terms of the tactical seating that it has available to it. So for our Ensign Universal Station, I made that our tactical team ability that redistributes our shields and purges tactical debuffs such as boarding parties. This is very nice to have because you don't have to balance your shields yourself. You can pretty much hit this ability, and as long as it's active, it'll do it for you. Then we have our Beam Fire at Will 1. Now we went with Fire at Will 1 in this case so we could pick up an attack pattern. Why not? This allows us to pretty much smack anything in range with our beams, so some AoE ability, and even pretty good single target damage as well. Then we have our attack pattern Beta, which debuffs the enemy's damage resistance. A lot of people prefer to use Beta for the cooldown and the damage resistance rating that it puts on the enemy. It's a very great attack pattern. Now, as well, another option people do have for this ship is they can use attack pattern Delta if they wanted to, if you're taking a lot of threat. So, very good thing to have there. Now, Delta, in my personal opinion, is a lot better used when you can pair it with the Delta Prime trait. But even if you don't have Delta Prime, then it's still a nice one to have. I just went with Beta in this instance because I felt it would do a little bit better. But anyway, needless to say, you have options. Then for our Commander Engineering Station, we have Engineering Team, which purges engineering debuffs and gives us some hull healing, kind of self-explanatory. We have our Reverse Shield Polarity, which allows us to recharge the shields by converting incoming damage to shield energy. Then we have our Emergency Power to Weapons 3, which is an energy damage boost and power setting boost. This one you will need to pick up off of the exchange or have an engineering officer train it for you if you're not somebody that has access to that normally. Then we have the Emit Unstable Warp Bubble 3 ability. This particular ability is a very nice damage reduction going out to the enemy, and I've not yet seen a hard upper limit to how many enemies this can affect. So as long as it's within that bubble, then it's going to reduce their damage. And you can see just how much it's going to reduce their damage. It essentially cuts it in half. So while that debuff is active, if say you're fighting 20 ships, you pop this ability, you're now essentially fighting 10. So very good thing to have. This actually comes from the Delta Flight mission, which is where you pick up the training manuals for it. Then you have, for our command abilities, we have the Overwhelm Emitters, which drains enemy shields and gives you some shield regen as well. We have the Rally Point Marker, which is a bit of shield and hull healing, as long as you're within the marker and everything, so very, very good. Then we have our Suppression Barrage, which debuffs the enemy damage and turn rate. Now, for a very, very high damage reduction to the enemy, if you have to have it, you can combo Suppression Barrage with the Warp Bubble debuff. So very nice to have there. Finally, we have our Science Team ability, which purges science debuffs and gives some shield regen and whatnot. It's a very nice ability to have in my personal opinion. I like to have it on a lot of my ships when I can pick it up. Some people like it, some people don't. So it's one of those that you kind of got to decide that for yourself. Another good ability that you can have is the Feedback Pulse ability and whatnot. So very, very potent ability. Pretty much, if you've got it stacked up enough as far as the damage and whatnot, the enemies can pretty much kill themselves when you pop this ability at the right time. So very, very potent thing to have, and is some free damage and whatnot. You know, some people like it, some people don't, everything, but it's definitely a very, very viable option that you do have. Then we have the Hazard Emitters 3. This rank of the ability will need to be trained by a science officer or purchased off the exchange. Pretty much self-explanatory. Purges hazard debuffs, gives a little bit of damage resistance and whatnot. So kind of self-explanatory. Now another option you did have with the ship, if you wanted to, you could downgrade to Hazard Emitters 1, remove Science Team, and put a Gravity Well on here. Now, I didn't use it because I didn't think it was needed. But again, that is an option that you do have. But anyways, folks, hopefully you understand where I'm going with the mechanics and everything. Like I'll say in the second part of the video as well, you know, if you have any questions about why I'm using stuff, let me know, and I'll do my best to answer. But anyways, folks, I will see you guys in our Starbase 24 run. But for now, folks, we'll be right back. Alright guys, we're just about to hit our second wave of ships here, and this is about where the fun's going to start here in our Starbase 24 run. But anyways, let's go ahead and knock this guy out, and we'll go into our second wave. Here we go, folks. Looks like our first target's been decided for us by a stray fall cycle. Let's see what we can do. And purge that boarding party debuff. And rally point, because why not? Yeah, I'm smacking with some shield drain because we can. Interesting. Would appear we are surrounded. Which kind of is an obvious statement, but regardless. let's go ahead and throw out some damage buffs, because we can. See, we're making some pretty decent progress. Caught on this piece of debris, that is. Good deer. Mistakes have been made. Yeah, I thought I heard Balmoral warheads. One thing to watch for in here is because those can hurt if they make contact with your hull. The impact on the shields, not so bad, but actually hitting the hull, that's when they hurt. Spark bubble there. Purge the debuff in a moment. Our Kobali consoles there. Warp bubble again. And throw the good whole heal. And go for throw. Some shield recharge going. Assemble boarding party. Passengers back up, so we'll go ahead and use it. Go ahead and put a warp bubble on our tactical fleet. Throw our shield bubble up. Yeah, let's go ahead and recharge our shields because we can. A couple of the warheads. It's a pretty big little pickle there, but we got out of that mostly unscathed. Let's go on to our next group. And let's annoy this group here. down another neg var there. And pretty much we're just in that phase of cleaning up final ships and everything. Apparently he's not going to shoot at me. Okay. Let's see, is that a neg var? That is a neg var. That thing down. Put him out of his misery just because I can. Anyway. And let's see, what is left that I can shoot at? And let's shoot at that guy. Good group of them actually right here. Okay. And do a little recharge there. And let's aggravate this guy. Anyways, folks, that's it for our Starbase 24 run. I hope you've enjoyed the video and everything, whatnot. Hopefully you're able to see just some of what the Samsar can do and all that good stuff. But, anyways, like I said, I wanted to do this video because I know some people are just now getting access to this ship for the first time, after it's not been available to people for quite some time. But, hopefully you've enjoyed the video, everything. You found this informative, helpful in some way. Maybe it inspired ideas for your own builds and everything. But if there's any particular ship that you guys would like to see me do a mid-range or even a bare bones budget on, then feel free to let me know in the comments section down below what ship you're wanting me to use, and if I have access to it, then I'll try to do a video for you guys, or perhaps provide a build for you, whatever it is you want me to do. But, anyways, guys, hope you've enjoyed this as much as I did making it and everything. I'm glad that I was finally able to get this out there for you all. But for now, guys, this is Captain Blade J52, signing off.